No drown in sorrows.
The boss. He might be at work here. Season 2 Invitational Champion. He's qualified for our Players Championship. Jared, with all likelihood, assuming things go right, over the course of the year, he'll be qualified as well. But this might be a preview to what we see in Roanoke later this year. The boss is off and firing with Rakdos Cackler.
One of the things that's interesting to note is that Jared, basically throughout his entire career of playing Black Devotion decks, has played Night Veil Spectre instead of Lightbane Zombie main deck.
Always.
And I feel like that helps him a lot against these red decks, but it is still strange to see just no respect for the deck in your sideboard.
Tom going to play Legion Loyalist here. He will play a land. And now this attack may look a little weird. I mean, he's got a Mutavault, right? But you have to respect the fact that Tom can have a Robot Maka or a Titan Strength, a Shock, something in the situation to where, I love the way that Tom just plays Legion Loyalist first, then plays the land and says, all right, I'm going to attack. I dare you to block. Now, chances are Jared probably has a rule spell here, but also note that he played a Mutavault that turn and not a Swamp, so no Bile Blight.
No Bile Blight. He does have the Urborg into Night Veil Spectre, though.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if it's better to represent a Bile Blight or have the Mutavault able to potentially attack next turn if he needs to, or block, I suppose, and play something off that mana, but...
The 3 damage did come across. You saw Fire Drinker Crusader post-combat. Now Boettcher does play the Urborg into Night Veil Spectre, as you did mention. If you caught a glimpse of Ross's hand, he does have a copy of Robot Maka, so he was not bluffing. He also has a copy of Hall of Triumph in his deck. That's just a one-of. And as far as Titan Strength is concerned, that's a one-of as well for Tom.
With 3 Rebel Belts?
Tom actually only has 2 Rebel Belts.
Okay, so 3 pump spells total, not counting the Hall.
Yeah, that's a little bit lower, I think, than normal. Especially because Maka's really good in this deck.
It is, yeah.
But I think where Tom might be able to get an advantage there, as you do see, Legion Loyalist is going to attack. Jared's going to take a look at that. We will do the same, of course, to see exactly how the battalion works. Now, of course, creatures are going to get first strike. They'll also get trample, and then token creatures cannot block with that little guy once he attacks with 2 other creatures. So it looks like Jared has no interest in blocking here. It looks like he's going to take the damage. But I think where Tom may get an advantage here by cutting down on Mako's Titan Strengths is that people are going to play around them so much, he's not going to have it a lot of the time. And now here's the Granddaddy.
Is that the Rabble Master?
That is the
Rabble
Master.
Combat?
Yes. That is the granddaddy of them all.
From talking to Brad Nelson, it became very apparent that Tom taught him the ways of the red deck leading up to the last Pro Tour.
Oh, yeah.
And post-combat Rabble Master against the Black Devotion decks was definitely one of the things that Brad really enjoyed doing.
Okay.
Just because it causes them to play a removal spell on one of your weaker creatures during combat to not take that damage.
Okay, okay.
Or in this case, it causes Jared to not want to block because he doesn't want to get first struck and trampled with Rebel Built Maka or Titan Strength.
This is Desecration Demon. That's going to come down. But, the interesting thing about Desecration Demon in this matchup, you see Jared kind of play with a smile on his face, is because there are games where, you just go removal spell, Desecration Demon, and they cannot win because they have no board. But this is a game where Desecration Demon looks very average to, one could argue, bad.
I think it's just actively bad at this point. Not only does Tom have 4 creatures in play, but one of them is a Rabble Master.
Yep.
Making a creature every turn.
Yep. Ross is going to play a copy of Mutavault, and now he's going to take his time and figure out what the best line of play is so he can make sure that he gets the most damage across. I imagine that Desecration Demon is going to be tapped in just a moment, but he wants to make sure that he does everything that he's supposed to do. So he's going to line up the creatures, figure out how Boettcher can possibly block here before moving forward.
Yeah, Tom Ross, much like Reed Duke, is a very methodical player, even though he generally plays decks like Rabble Red or Infect and Legacy. These decks that are very much like beat-down decks. But he is a very careful player, does not want to make a mistake, and it's very easy to say that red decks are easy to play, and I think that is true to some extent, but they are difficult to play well.
Yes. And that's the thing I actually enjoy from watching Tom play Magic, is that red decks are difficult to play correctly. He's going to play Hall of Triumph here and bash in with everybody.
Yeah, doesn't bother sacrificing anything to the Desecration Demon. I think the weakest creature might be the Loyalist.
Yeah, just a 2/2 right now.
Because the way the turn order stacks your triggers, Tom is the active player, so his goes on the stack first, so he won't have the Goblin to sacrifice to the demon, the Goblin token. So yeah, he would have to sack the Loyalist. I think he wants the trample for any potential Rebel Belt Maka shenanigans. So, and he doesn't have to give Jared a counter on his demon. So
here's your blocks. Now we can't forget that the Rebel Master, it's for goblins.
Yep.
That's what pumps it. So you got one goblin coming across, and the Legion Loyalist is a goblin as well. So it's actually right now a 2, 3, 4. The Hall of Triumph makes it a 5-power creature.
Yeah.
And it has first strike and trample. So it can actually, with the help of a Robelt Mach or a Titan Shrink, actually beat Desecration Demon in combat.
Oh, yeah, just crush it.
Which is not something we say very often.
No, yeah, not a lot of things stand up to a Desecration Demon.
And that's actually kind of makes this red deck kind of impressive, is there is the Maka, is because you don't expect to see a red deck be able to beat a 6/6 in combat over the history of Magic, and it's doing it very easily.
Let alone first strike it down.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
Normally it's just like, all right, send my guy in, frown when you block, lightning strike it, don't have any other play, and things generally don't end well when they play a 6/6 against you.
Now, Nightfall Spectre is going to beat the Legion Loyalist in combat. Yes, that will happen, and some damage will come across here. Boettcher is down to 2. It's very important for Jared this turn to have land into Grey Merchant, as he draws a copy of Far and Away.
There is a spicy one of in Jared's deck, and it was the Far and Away.
Now, we haven't seen that card in his deck. Again, he won 2 weeks ago in Syracuse. He did not have it then.
Yep.
He has it this weekend, but we haven't seen that card at all.
Yeah.
In Standard.
I like that card. I was thinking about it actually too, and I was like, I wonder if Jared had one of those, but I remember that he didn't. It is cool to see him playing it now.
It's a little surprising to see that card see almost no play over its span. You know, it's all play and block.
Yeah.
Like Dragon's Maze. Some.
Yeah.
Not like a ton, but it did see some play there. But it's a little surprising to see that card, especially when, Esper was a thing, and, maybe like blue-white with small splashes of black were a thing, and this card at no point dominated, I think, like people expected it to.
Yeah, black and blue is not a very popular color combination, and to fuse it, it is 5 mana. Otherwise, you are playing a weaker version of other cards that you could potentially be playing, like Devour Flesh. But you see Jared there without the 5th land and just scoops him up.
Tom Ross, the boss, does win game number 1 with Rabble Red over Jared Boettcher, playing Black-Blue Devotion. To the sideboards we will go, and you have Jared's in front of you, and much like Syracuse, he doesn't have 8.
He's got 3 Doomblades. I like those. And then also 3 Lightbane Zombie, 3 Duress, 2 Negate, 2 Erebos God of the Dead, 1 Notion Thief, 1 Underworld Connections. So the Doomblades are almost certainly going to be in there. And maybe you have to do something like bring in Erebos just to have like another creature. Like maybe you can go Pack Rat into Nightveil into Erebos and like have something that actually blocks.
Okay.
He does have a reasonable amount of cards that are not super effective in the matchup, so.
It feels like maybe desperate times, desperate measures.
Yeah, kind of.
Ross's side here, 2 Skull Cracks, 4 Eidolon of the Great Revel. He's got a Seismic Stomp, 2 Electrickeries, another copy of Legion Loyalist, a Searing Blood, a Mizium Mortars, 2 copies of Magma Spray, and then a copy of Harness by Force. I feel like the 4 Eidolons are the easiest cards to bring in.
Yeah. Well, look, trying to decipher a Tom Ross sideboard is very difficult.
Okay.
These cards are not in here randomly. It may look that, but he has very detailed sideboard plans for all of his matchups. And I don't know exactly what they are. I know the Eidolons are specifically for this matchup. But past that, it's like, is the Harness by Force coming in? Maybe.
Yeah, I know that Patrick PSLE is not a big fan of that card. Like, in a perfect world, you take Desecration Demon and you smack him with it. But it doesn't always work that way, especially if you're behind, that maybe have like a Mutavault to sacrifice or a Pack Rat token or what have you. So maybe that's a card that's better on the play than on the draw.
Maybe. I mean, it's also pretty useful if they have 2 demons, because you can take one of theirs and sacrifice that to tap their second one and get in a big attack. So also, if you flood out, you can take 2 things.
Yeah, I mean, if you're flood out, are you winning? Maybe not, but it gives you maybe an out 2 win.
Yeah, it gives you an out 2 win if you are flooding, so who knows?
The 2 Skull Cracks, again, when I'm in the booth with Patrick, he's not a big fan of that card. People boarded in to line up against Grey Merchant.
I'm pretty sure that Tom is not a fan of doing that.
I don't think he's a fan of that either.
I read his article on this deck and the sideboard plans. I didn't memorize them, but I do remember like that sticking out as a thing that I found interesting.
Okay.
Where it's like, you can try and do that, but the first few turns, like, you have to be focused on getting on the board, making the combat steps favorable for you. So that means, like generally activating Mutavault, playing things like Goblin Rabblemaster, playing things like Hall of Triumph or Rubblebelt Maka. You don't have time to leave that 2 mana open to try and hit their Grey Merchant with it. You're better off just trying to beat through it.
Well, we're going to see what happens. I know Boettcher got away with not playing any hate in his sideboard 2 weeks ago.
Like I said, man, this is the test. If you can beat the boss playing Rabble Red with nothing in your sideboard, okay, fine.
You're going to be feeling pretty confident.
Sure.
You're going to be feeling pretty confident. See what I did? You're going to be feeling pretty confident. Newest member of our Creature Collection series. It is the Squirrel Confidant coming next weekend at the Season 3 Invitational, where we'll be in New Jersey. Jerry will be battling, I'll be commentating, and you can get these there. You get 2 free with Legacy Open entries. So, you know, we've had a lot of fun with Acorn Mystic, but it's time to go. And as much as I love Acorn Mystic, this is just way better.
Greatness at any cost.
Really is. This is just way better. The artwork here is fantastic. Again, we've got our playmat, our deck box, our sleeves, our dice bag, and again, 2 Squirrel Confidant tokens when you do enter a Legacy Open series. Please do join us in New Jersey next week in our Invitational, where you can begin to pick these up.
Yeah, next weekend, if I'm in top 8, I might have to drop just to join the Legacy Open.
Okay, easy.
Listen.
Easy.
They don't just give these away.
My people can talk to your people. We can get you some of these.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see.
I just need 4 articles from you next week, and then I'll give you 1.
I can do it. I mean, I don't know what you want, but.
August 29th, that's where these are going to come. We will turn back to the match here. Game number 2, Boettcher will be on the play. We'll see if he's going to keep or mulligan here. But Jared has had arguably the best 9-month stretch of Magic I think maybe we've ever seen.
It's unbelievable. Like, you compare him to Brad Nelson's Player of the Year run, but after that year was over, Brad kind of slowed down.
Yeah.
And Jared was just like, nope, first and third. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, hasn't slowed down at all.
No.
It's incredible to watch.
He doesn't know how.
I mean, I was real worried 2 weeks ago that he was going to break it. Like or tie your record. Break the record, tie the record, whatever.
I was worried, obviously. I mean, Jared is good, and he wins a ton. And if anyone is capable of breaking my record, like especially when he won and then was 6-0 in the Legacy Open, I'm like, okay, come on, man.
Yeah, he was chasing you down, man.
I did say, though, that I had a horse in top 8 that no one knew about, and that was Sam Rukas.
You did.
And he took down the tournament.
You did.
So.
And no one... I know Sam now.
Okay.
We all know Sam now.
Yeah.
Because
I've
never seen anyone play Miracles so fast.
Yeah.
In my entire life. I mean, that's even like from the veterans that play Miracles, like Joe. I mean, Joe's pace is a little bit more methodical, but Sam was just like, do this, do that, go, spin top, go, all this stuff. And I'm like, holy crap! And his match was
like,
over.
who is this guy?
His match was over in like 20 minutes. I was like, well,
unheard of.
Well, thank you for finishing the match quickly. I appreciate that because my day is over a little bit earlier. But wow, I don't know how you did that. So shout out to him winning our Legacy Open 2 weeks ago in Syracuse. Yeah, he was your horse.
Sam is great. I'm not sure if he's going to be here this weekend or not.
I don't know either.
I hope he is.
If he is, we'll watch him tomorrow, that's for sure.
Sounds good.
Boettcher on the play here. You're going to take a look at the open hand. You can see a Thoughtseize over there. You see a Swamp as well. Not sure how many lands he has in his hand. Tom's going to take a look, and he's going to mulligan. And one thing to note here from Tom, and I think this is one of the things I enjoy watching him with the red deck too, is he mulligans pretty aggressively when he plays red.
Yeah. And it's strange to kind of think about that, considering like most of his cards are pretty low impact, right? Like Legion Loyalist on a mulligan, it's like, and then if you draw like a 4th land, it's like, what? Can you really win the game with like some 2/2s and a 1/1? Yep. But Tom's like, yes, absolutely.
I mean, you can't come out of the gate slow.
Yeah.
So you have to mulligan. Now, he does have 21 lands in his deck this week, and excuse me, 18 mountains and 3 copies of Mutavault. One card I actually want to ask you about in this matchup, it's the powerful new red card in Stoke the Flames.
Yeah.
Do you think this card is good against black?
I think it's a good way to finish people off.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if you're supposed to sideboard it out for just more threats.
Okay.
You know, it is certainly likely that Tom could get Thoughtseize, especially after he mulligans, not have a lot of pressure, and then like Stoke taking them from like 18 to 14 is not very good. Mm-hmm. But maybe when you're on the play, I don't know. You know, like Tom has all these intricate sideboard plans, like I said. I would not be surprised if like some copies of Burn Spells came out, but there are certainly situations where the Burn Spells are very good.
Tom going down to 5 here very, very quickly. So we might be headed to a 3rd game here in just a moment. We will see. As far as Rebel Red is concerned, you mentioned Todd did win an Elite IQ.
Yep.
The WMCQ last weekend in Oakland was won by Rebel Red in the hands of Isaac Sears, a player who we do see top 8 quite a bit when the Open Series is over on the West Coast in Los Angeles. And I imagine when we're in Oakland, we'll probably see him there a couple months from now. So congratulations to him. Jeremy Dazani getting 9th place with the deck at the Pro Tour. Team Revolution playing that deck. It's been doing very well.
It has been. And I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you know, how many red decks are there going to be? Like, it did well last weekend, but like people should have the hate this weekend, right? So I don't have to, and then it just keeps winning.
Yeah. And it's really weird where you expect people to have the hate,
right?
And then everyone's like, no, you'll have the hate.
No, yeah. Oh, we made a mistake here.
Why do none of us have the hate? Why is it still winning? And that's what seems like it happens a lot.
Yeah, and now I'm talking to people like Brad Nelson, and he's just like, so should I play the 4th Drown in Sorrow? Do I need some, like, 4 Farika's Cures on top of that?
We have a thought seize to begin things. You're going to see a Rakdos Cackler, a Fire Drink Crusader, a Foundry Denizen, a Goblin Rabble Master, and just one Mountain. So Tom's hand is very functional, but thought seize, you know, taking away one of these threats, you'll pay 2 light to do that when they mull to 5.
Yeah, so here's the thing, is that you can take one of Tom's 3 1-drops. Those are pretty much redundant. Or you can take the Rabble Master and hedge against, you know, him drawing a couple lands in a row. It's certainly the most powerful threat.
Going to go with the
But,
Cackler.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Thoughtseize, not super effectual there.
A Foundry Denizen is what Tom will play. Boettcher's going to draw a card. He's going to play a Water Grave on tap. Now here's a Pack Rat. So this can close things out very, very quickly as Ross does draw a card. You saw his draw last turn was Nylon the Great Revel. This turn it was a Fire Drinker Satyr. He will play that Satyr. That will pump the Foundry Denizen. It'll be an attack here for 2. Boettcher has no interest in blocking, so he'll go down to 14.
Yeah, just trying to set up, almost certainly hide behind an army of rats.
I don't think Jared has the 3rd land,
He doesn't.
though.
He does have another Pack Rat, though.
This actually makes this game a little bit more interesting when he doesn't have the 3rd land. He can't be too... I mean, obviously, he's not thrilled about that. I mean, he draws the 3rd land. It might be the check mark on the game right away. He can deploy another Pack Rat, which does give him 2 2/2 Pack Rats. You know, and then he can trade in combat with some stuff if he'd like to and move forward appropriately. But Tom on a mulligan of 5, if he draws a 2nd land, he might be able to steal this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure, like, he's stealing it at this point. It's like he's doing what his deck is meant to do, which is just play a bunch of 1-drops, be functional off 1 land, and I'm not even sure, like, he wants to draw more lands. Like, he could play an Eidolon, but Jared's plan at this point is probably just draw a 3rd land and start making Pack Rats.
Not even casting spells?
Yeah.
Sure. You see Fire Drinker number 2 come down, going to pump the Foundry Denizen. It'll be an attack for 4. It looks like Boettcher's going to take, and he's going to go down to 10. Jared's going to draw a card. It is not a land. Again, it's another copy of Devour Flesh. He has 2 of those in his hand. You can also see a Gray Merchant there as well, but he's a pretty long ways away from that. Now, if he does have a Bile Blight, it looks beautiful here, so he can take down those 2 Fire Drinker Satyrs, but I'm not sure he has one.
I don't think he does. It looks like it's time to block.
Tom draws a land. He's going to play an Eidolon pre-combat, and we'll see if Jared has a response to that going on the stack.
Yeah, I think you have to Devour Flesh here.
Just get one of those knuckleheads out of the way?
Yeah, just any old one. It doesn't matter. They're all functionally the same creature, and now it's probably time where Jared starts blocking.
Well, he's going to cast Devour Flesh in response to the Eidolon. Doesn't want to take 2 damage, of course. So now Tom has to decide what he wants to sacrifice. If you're Tom in this situation, what are you sacrificing?
Yeah, I think a Fire Drinker Satyr, just because you got to imagine that Jared's going to be blocking this turn, and then you just take 2 less damage.
Okay. The attacks are here. Again, Foundry Denizen is a 2-power creature because of the Eidolon. So Jared says, all right, I'm going to finally block and get these things off of the table. Eidolon is all that's left behind. Boettcher does not draw a land yet again. He draws a copy of Desecration Demon. Will he fire off Devour Flesh to get this off the table? Now, don't forget as well, on that turn 1 Thought Seize, that Jared saw a Goblin Rabble Master as Tom draws a card. So he has to be a little bit wary of that if Tom draws a land.
Yeah, certainly.
Legion Loyalist is going to come in.
Yeah, and Rabble Master is generally a card that can get in under Devour Flesh as well. So if those are all Jared has for removal spells, it's going to be tough to kill that thing.
Looks like Boettcher's going to respond to Legion Loyalist by casting copy of Devour Flesh. He'll take 2 to do so, and now I imagine the Loyalist will attack. Now, the thing that Tom is thinking about here is he has a copy of Titan Strength in his hand.
Yeah, do I try and hit the 3rd land? Do I take this opportunity to get in my 3 extra damage as well?
I think that you do.
With Jared at 8 life, I think it's worth it, but yeah.
Going to scry. He leaves that card on top pretty fast, actually.
Well, it looked like he was going to put it on the bottom.
That's what I thought,
and then thought about it, but
he could still be in the tank here about this. Again, we know his card. Jared knows it too. It's a Rabble Master, and Tom's going to put that card to the bottom. Okay. So 4 damage is going to come across. Boettcher's going to go down to 4. He draws a card. It's a Watery Grave. Yikes.
And this is where you see that slight splash just coming back to bite you. He had to play his Watery Grave untapped on turn 2. Now draws a 2nd one later when almost certainly he needs a 3rd land.
This is a tough spot to be in.
It is.
I think he has Hero's Downfall in his hand, and it's like, do I pay 2 life to Hero's Downfall that? Because presumably what happens, like that, he plays his Watery Grave tapped, Ross attacks for 1, puts him down to 3, and then you Hero's Downfall that the next turn?
Yeah, but you also know that he has Goblin Rabble Master in his hand.
Sure. Yeah, and you can tell he's a little unsure of himself on what he's supposed to do on this turn. Because that entire time, Rabble Master is breathing down his neck. And
yeah.
And you can see the Hero's Downfall there as well. So are you supposed to take the 2, and then let's say you kill Legion Loyalist. Well, I guess if you were to play Rebel Master, you kill that, right?
Let's say he plays it tapped.
Okay.
And Tom Ross draws the land.
Okay.
Plays the Rabble Master, makes a 1/1, hits him for 2. Now Jared's at 2.
Yep.
And next turn he can downfall the Rabble Master, but Tom still has 2 1/1s. So it seems like Jared is better off playing the Watergrave untapped, killing the potential Rabble Master if Tom does draw the 3rd land. Otherwise, just killing the Loyalist. But yeah, I mean, he could also try and play around just like Tom not having a 3rd land, because maybe that's the most likely way for him to win the game.
Here's an attack. Not sure what Tom drew that turn. Wow, Boettcher's going to go down to 1. Is that a strike?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, see, this is a situation in which the burn spells are good when you get your opponent pretty low and then you draw them off the top. But if he had like that strike or Stoke the Flames in his opener, I guess strike would have been okay because Jared had a bunch of pack rats. But like Stoke the Flames in his opener would have been not the best card.
Tom Ross bowled a 5 that game.
Yep, sure did.
Didn't matter. The boss does win over Jared Boettcher, 2-0. Rabble Red moves on to 2-0, taking down Black Blue Devotion. That is a match that I think if you're a